Well, a lot of those that don't like Donald Trump find it remarkable that he's even in the position he is in, particularly when you consider, or they consider, that we are marking the third anniversary of the Capitol riots right now.
Yes, January 6, 2021 was a dark day in American history, and a lot of people thought that that was the end of Donald Trump's political career. A lot of people thought because he inspired the riots, because he refused to put them down when he had the opportunity to, and because he even spoke positively of the people who breached the Capitol and beat up police officers and stormed the U.S. House of Government. A lot of people thought that would be the end of Donald Trump, but we saw he survived an impeachment attempt. He has survived so far a political campaign in which he is now the front runner in the primary and also leading Joe Biden in a number of polls. It speaks to where America is as a country right now. It's a highly divisive moment. It's a time where a lot of people are frustrated with the political leadership that we've had over the past several years. And many people are willing to take a chance on someone like Donald Trump, even though we saw what happened during his first years in office. A lot of people looked at his first term and said the economy was strong. He was able to take a sledgehammer to a lot of the norms that we had, and some people like that. And a sector of the American electorate, not everyone, not even the majority, according to several polls, support that. And that could be one of the reasons why Donald Trump is leading in the Republican primary and also being very competitive in a potential general election matchup with Joe Biden.
Very few people, for so many reasons, will ever make an analogy between Nazi Germany of the 30s and 40s to what is happening now. But that's exactly what Joe Biden did in his speech yesterday, virtually labelling former President Donald Trump a Nazi.
That's what this 2024 race is going to be all about. It's going to be a race to the gutter and a race to who can brand their opponent as the most dangerous and divisive and unfit person as possible for the presidency. And it's really where we are as a country, where a lot of politicians are pointing to their opponents and using their own words against them to paint them as a danger to democracy. Now, Donald Trump has used language that echoes what Hitler spoke of, talking about things like poisoning of the blood of the country and calling people vermin. And so Donald Trump has given Joe Biden a lot of ammunition to work with to paint him as the kind of threat to democracy, the kind of throwback to the 1930s and 1940s that can scare a lot of Americans. And this will be an election about fear. This will be an election about who is the more scary candidate. Is it Donald Trump, who wants to, return the country to making America great again, which can return to a time of racial division and all kinds of fears? Or will it be the fear of Joe Biden, who has remade a lot of the American economy, who's 81 years old, and some people think he's too old, who has taken the country further to the left than where it was when he was sworn in? And so that kind of fear is what's going to be driving the American electorate in the next several months. And it's going to be a toss-up to see who can take advantage of that and who can use that fear to their advantage to win the election in November.
From an outsider's perspective looking in, as long as Joe Biden can maintain his health, it's quite obvious that he will be competing in the election. With Donald Trump, there's a lot of hurdles before he can get there. Firstly, let's look at him going to the Supreme Court to try and overturn what's happened in both Colorado and Maine.
Yeah, Donald Trump has a lot of legal problems, both the problems that could keep him off the ballot because of the U.S. Constitution, which bars anyone who engaged in an insurrection from running for public office, and also the legal problems related to the criminal trials that could not only keep him off the ballot, but could keep him from having his freedom. He is facing 91 different charges in states ranging from Georgia to New York to Washington, D.C., where he has federal cases for what happened on January 6th and how he handled classified information. So he has a lot of legal challenges, and that could make it difficult for him to make it back to the presidency. But it's also the reason he's running for the presidency, because if he becomes president, a lot of those legal challenges could no longer stand, because he will be the commander in chief. He'll be the head of the government. He'll be able to quash a lot of these legal challenges. And that is one of the motivations that he has for running for the presidency. And it's also animating his campaign. He's saying that these legal challenges are the government going after him, the democracy being undermined by, the person in power trying to take over the apparatus of the criminal justice system and use it against their political opponent. Now, all of those things are false, but that is how he's campaigning. And that is one of the reasons that he's leading in the Republican primary, because that message has received positive reviews from a number of voters in the Republican Party. And it will remain whether or not that kind of message can help him in a general election if he's able to get there against Joe Biden, where he's going to appeal not only to Republicans, but also to independent voters and voters who are in no party and who may have soured on him because of the chaos of his first term. And so that is the big challenge that he has, both through the primary and also being able to be viable in a general election.
Yeah, we have a soap opera of a year ahead if it wasn't so real. Just finally, Tolu, how do you think, we are at the start of the year, so we can get our crystal ball out. How do you think it's all going to end up? It's quite ironic that if Nikki Haley somehow got in, that she would clean the floor of Joe Biden, but a Trump versus Biden thing would be a lot closer run election.
That's what the polls are telling us. This is the kind of year that it's difficult to even trust the polls, because everything is stacking up to be highly unpredictable between the trials, between the elections, between Joe Biden being 81 years old and having a number of challenges there. So it's difficult to predict. I would say that it is shaping up like it's going to be a Trump versus Biden election. Does look like it's going to be decided in just a handful of states, and it could come down to a few thousand votes, which is the way our elections are run here. So I would buckle in and be prepared for a roller coaster of a year with a major decision being made in November, which could really determine the shape of where this country goes and where the world goes for several years to come. So it's going to be a very, very pivotal year in the history of this country.
Yeah, absolutely. Tolu, thanks so much for coming on the program. We'll talk sooner.
Thank you.